Alright, we're going to be doing some graphing with the graphing calculator. We're going to see how to graph a line into a linear equation in two variables, and I'm using as an example 4x minus 3y equals 6. First of all, if your equation has variables other than x and y, you need to change your variables to x and y because that is what the calculator uses. Now, the first thing you have to do here is to solve for y. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll subtract 4x from both sides and we'll get negative 3y equals negative 4x plus 6. And then we'll divide by negative 3. And we'll get y equals 4/3 x minus 2. And the reason we do this is because we have to use the key known as the y equals key. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is go to your calculator. Mine keeps popping on and off the screen, so just to excuse it, if it goes off, I'll pull it back on. I'm trying to make it slightly bigger. There we go. And find the y equals key after you turn it on. The y equals key is right here in the upper left-hand corner. Clear out any equations or formulas that are in there. Notice that it only uses y's and x's. Right? And then go up to y1 and write your 4/3 x minus 2. 4/3 is written 4 divided by 3. The x key is right next to the alpha. And minus, subtract 2. Okay? And then we're going to go ahead and let's get that back up there. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is hit the zoom key, and we're going to zoom 6, which is standard window. And so we're going to hit 6 or score down there, and it's going to graph the line in a standard window. And let me momentarily move over to window and show you how that standard window looks. It goes from the x values go from negative 10 to 10 with a tick mark at every one, and the y values go from negative 10 to 10 with a tick mark at every one. So let's go back to the graph by hitting graph, and each of these marks here, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, all the way to negative 10. Going up, it's 1 to 10. Notice because going up and down you have less space, that the marks are closer together. Alright, this is okay, but it's not so good for looking at values. Alright, and I'll explain why right here. If we hit the trace key, it'll give us our y-intercept. It kind of goes to the middle, which is 0, negative 2. And as we move the x values to the right by hitting the right arrow, we'll see some awful looking decimals. And if we move to the left, the same thing happens. And this is because the screen is divided unequally among those 10 marks in each direction. And they don't come out to an equal number of in any place except right in the middle. Okay? And so we do something here to help us get the values that we want. Let me stop for a minute and write down the keys that we're going to be using. Okay, I did a little fooling around here so that my calculator wouldn't keep disappearing. I put it on the desktop instead of in front of the paint program that I was using. Alright, so we've used the y equal key to enter the slope-intercept form of the line. We use zoom 6 to center the graph. Let's hit zoom 6 just one more time to make sure it's centered again. Alright, and then let's hit zoom 8 and enter, and I'll show you what zoom 8 says. Let's go down all the way to 8, and it's integer. It gives us nice integer values. Enter. And you have to enter again. You want to see it regraph. Alright? And it did regraph, and notice there's not as many tick marks here. If you go to Window, it'll tell you what the tick marks mean. On the y-axis, each tick mark means 10. The y is scaled with tick marks meaning 10, 20, and so is the x-axis. And they go from negative 47 to 47, from negative 31 to 31. This way, every pixel is assigned to an integer value, and so the values are easier to read when you use the trace key. Let's go back to graph, and then so when we go to the left here, we have negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, negative 40. We go up, it's 10, 20, 30. But we're not going to need to worry about that so much because we're going to use the trace key to get a table of values here. And of course, the first value we'll get is the just a second, I have to make sure I got a pen here. Okay, the first value we'll get is the y-intercept, which is going to be 0, negative 2. And then if we move to the left or right using these arrow keys, to go to the right, use the right arrow. To go to the left, use the left arrow. That'll change our x values, and we can see if we can get some more values for our table. So let's use the right arrow key. That's not a very great value, neither is that, but that's pretty good. So 3, 2 is also a point on the graph. And then let's move and get another one. Keep moving, probably we have to move 3 away. 6, 6 is a point on the graph. Similarly, we could have used the left arrow to get points above negative values of x or below. Negative 3, negative 6, and on and on. You can get more values if you need them, but certainly this is enough values for a table of values for graphing by hand. All right, so now there's one problem here, and that is that we're using the slope-intercept form of the line here, and if you happen to make a mistake and getting from the original equation right here to the slope-intercept form, then you'll never know it unless you check a point. So let's pick one of the less obvious points, like negative 3, negative 6, and put it back in the original equation and make sure that we've got the right line. 4 times negative 3 minus 3 times negative 6 equals 6. We get negative 12 plus 18 is 6. And surely that is true. So we're pretty confident that we've got the right line here. And you have seen how you would graph an equation in 2 variables using the graphing calculator. Now remember, you're going to hit zoom 6, and then you can just hit zoom 8, enter. Make sure you see it regraph and that there's very few tick marks, and then hit trace. If you don't get nice values, then try zoom 8, enter again until you really regraph it. And I'm going to talk about 2 other types of equations here. So let's clean the screen. One of these equations can be graphed, and one of these cannot be graphed using the y equal key. The first equation, y plus 2 equals 1, is one of the special cases. It's the case where you, let me get a pencil first of all. It's the case where you only have a y value. Again, you have to solve it for y. Subtract 2 from both sides and you'll get y equals negative 1, which should be a horizontal line. You can go to y equals, and I'm going to go down to y 3, or y2, and put y2 equals -1. Okay, and then graph it. Now you can actually go over to the left there and select a different style of line if you want for it, because I already have one line. Maybe I want to show a different line here. That's the line I have right now. Yeah, I think I'll just leave the same line. Alright, so let's go ahead and graph. And we're already in the Zoom 8 window. So let's go ahead and graph. And you can see it's graphing right there. It's kind of really close to the x-axis. So let's hit trace here, and you can see that I am on y1, the first line. If I hit the up or down arrow, it'll switch me to the other y equals -1, and I can move to the right and it'll give me points on that. 1, -1, 2, -1, 3, -1. And of course you could make a table of values for that horizontal line. 0, -1 being the 1, -1 being the y-intercept, 2, -1, and graph the horizontal line. The second example, which if you solve for x, gives you x equals -3, is a vertical line, and I can't put it in the y-equal format, okay? And so I cannot use the calculator to graph it using y=. There is a draw feature where you could just draw it, but we're going to skip that at this point. So don't try drawing the vertical lines at this point. It just is the vertical line through -3 and would go up and down on the calculator. And that's all there is to it. If you're having any trouble, look through the video again. Thank you.